Good afternoon, it's Friday, Senate Institutions. We're gonna spend some time today on the Big E. We're pretty excited about that. It's always a good day, always kind of a lighthearted moment, even though we have realized there's a lot of need down there and with our building, but we're always pretty proud to hear that our building actually represents the Vermont better than all the other buildings, is what we hear continually. So we have a lot of people here. I just normally we just do it on Mondays, but we got a lot of guests in the room. So we're just gonna go and we'll introduce everybody, and then of course introduce yourselves as you start. So starting right here.
Thank you. Wendy Harrison, I'm the senator from Wyndham District. Irene Runner, senator for Chittenden North, including Fairfax.
Brian Collmore, the Rutland District.
Linda Lehman, committee assistant.
Senator Russ Ingles, Essex District. On the screen we have
Nicole Dubuque, Chief Operations Officer for the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets.
welcome.
Amy Mercier, Financial Director for the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets.
Welcome.
I'm Kate Everly. I'm the Director of Communications and Legislative Affairs for VGS.
I'm Abby Willard. I'm the Director of the Ag Development Division at the Agency of
Welcome to you
Agriculture
both.
Markets.
I'm Trevor Lowe, I'm the Marketing and Export Lead in the Agricultural Development.
And I'm Jessica Time. I'm the project manager and architect with VGS.
Welcome. Who wants to lead off?
You guys going?
Sure.
Linda, is the PowerPoint,
Okay.
the slide deck?
Yes. So much work.
So while Linda's pulling that up, just wanted to say thank you for taking some time to.
Just tell them again who you are. I apologize. It's the
Yeah.
rules that we have.
Yeah, so Trevor Lowell, the Marketing and Export Lead at the Agriculture Agency in the Development Division. Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to come share a little bit about the Vermont Building, the Big E event with you all. Also want to express some gratitude for my colleagues at Building General Services, working with us really hand in glove on keeping the building up to date and working on this renovation improvement projects. And then for my small team, Faith Raymond and Kristen Broussard working with me on the event itself, which is the greatest event, but it's a lot of work. So I always appreciate their effort. So I'll kick us off here with a little bit about the programming from the ag side of things, and then I'll kind of hand it off to Jessica, who will take us through more details on the renovations, investments in the building. So I'm not gonna do, I think last year I gave a lot of history on the fair. I think most of us are familiar with the fair. But you know, it's a large event. It's any year the 5th or 4th largest fair in the nation. This past year, their attendance was down a little bit, but they hover right around 1.5 million people who come through every year for 17 days. So it's a lot of people that come here and come to the Vermont Building and get to experience that slice of Green Mountain State in Western Massachusetts there. Each New England state has a building along the avenue of the states. They are all used for public market style activities. So they host businesses, they host organizations, nonprofits, all have an agricultural bent to them. Everyone is managed a little bit differently and their models are a little different. We know that through market studies that have been done, that 90% of fairgoers that attend the Big E visit the state buildings. So if you think of that 1.5 million number, vast majority of those people are coming through and experiencing the Vermont Building, the other state buildings as well. For a little context, an interesting fact, looking at our visitor information centers, so the Guilford Center is by far the busiest in the state. And 2023, the Vermont Building saw 3 times as many people that the Guilford Visitor Center saw in all of 2023.
Wait, say that, can you say that again?
So in the Guilford Center is the busiest. They see, I think, just south of 500,000 people a year. Wow.
So the rest area, so we're talking about, we're saying,
Yeah.
okay. It's
So-
beautiful. I know, I stopped there intentionally on my way to the Big E this year, last year, but just want to make sure we're talking the same thing. Cause like
well,
people
it's
watching
coming
might have
back.
this-
You can only get to go.
Yeah.
I understand, but we did a big detour because it wasn't gonna be open. When we
Oh.
Because the fair's open later than the rest time, and people say, go to the rest time, so we go way out of our way to make sure we, okay, I just wanna make sure we're talking the same building.
Yeah. But I think that's important context, right? So 3 times in the 17 days of the fair, 3 times as many people visited the Vermont building as did our busiest visitor information center. If the Vermont building was a visitor information center, it would account for 60% of the annual traffic to all of those buildings. Wow. So again, lots of folks coming there, having an experience, getting that exposure. Let's see. Oh, and I wanted to really hit on the partnerships that we have with our Department of Tourism, Department of Labor, other state entities, nonprofit organizations that come down, leverage that building and that event as a way to advance their goals. So very much shared agenda there. DOL was there recruiting people for jobs, talking about relocation, Think Vermont, the foliage report, all those things are happening in conjunction with the businesses exhibiting as well.
Where does the money go, Trevor, as far as the money that's collected? What fund does it go back into? I think we probably know, a lot of people might know that, but if we got anybody watching on TV, where's the revenue for the fair go that you collected?
Yeah, the revenue comes back to ag, so we charge a 12% flat commission on net sales, on gross sales, sorry. So every business pays that, and then it goes back into the building. It pays for a portion of the building management team. So I think this is an important piece too. It's not 3 full FTEs that are funded by that commission, but it's any given year based on other federal grants and other funding. It's helping to fund those positions. Those positions when we're not doing the Big E are out marketing and promoting Vermont food, forestry, and ag business as well. So it's an investment mechanism in that way. But a lot of it does go to just fund, staff time. That's, like I said, it's quite an undertaking, lodging, travel, the benefits for our staff, but also improvements to the building as well. We also had 29 businesses in 2023.
Did you want to back on that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just abandoned you, Linda. Apologize. Can you go to the second, sorry. Right, above the picture of the back patio there. Yes, that.
This one.
Yep. Okay, great. So 29 businesses in 2023, they come from all over the state. They're of all different scales and sizes. We have sole proprietorships. We had Kingdom Fleece and Fiberwork this year. So she has a small herd of sheep. She raises the sheep, collects the wool, cleans it, and sells that as yarn and different fiberwork things. We have larger businesses as well. I am very biased about this, but I will just repeat it because you mentioned it, Senator. I really feel like we have the best building when it comes to our vendors. I hear that from people coming down, walking through, from people, coworkers within state government who visit us. The quality and the makeup of the vendors in that building is really something special, something that we're very proud of.
Go ahead.
How do you decide who gets to be a vendor?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's a competitive application. We offer it every year. It's actually open right now. So businesses have about 3-4 weeks to apply. We're asking them, general questions about their business, and then look at that. How does that align with our goals for the building and our goals to support food, ag, and forestry? And then we award contracts anywhere between 1 to 3 years, depending on what their needs are and what our goals are. So we review those as they come up. That's how we do it.
Great.
And do you have full capacity once every spot's filled? No problem with that?
Yeah, the past 2 years, we have been full, and we were actually able to add some vendors this year into spaces that were underutilized both in the building. And one of the really exciting things is we added 2 food trucks to the back patio of the building, which was a great success for us. It really changed the traffic pattern. And it just created a very different atmosphere back there. It's kind of been, we've had a shed back there where the vendor has struggled because the traffic patterns haven't brought people back. That totally changed this year, and their sales went up 110%.
Nice.
In the shed.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mentioned that shed vendor. She started in 2022, was her first year. I share this story because I think it's an important platform for businesses to get their brand out there, to expand their market access. She came down in 2022. She got written up by Mass Live as the best food item at the Big E. She only had a half-fair contract, and her contract ended the following day, unfortunately.
You didn't expect that.
Well, it was ahead of time, so she
Oh,
signed
okay.
up and we had someone coming in behind her in
no.
that space. But she came back this year for the full fair and her average daily sales went up 110%.
Nice.
Wow.
She's since moved into a larger production facility and helped grow the business and expand that as well.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I mentioned how the money then comes back into our staff and our activities and really services a lot of the same goals throughout the year. So that's been really cool. And if you'll go to this next slide, Linda, is a picture of the back patio. On the left there, that's Monette Poutines. They have a spot on Church Street in Burlington, offering a little cute little cart, which is what I thought initially when they started talking to us. And actually they bought this, kind of upgraded to this much larger one. And then behind them is a food truck called Soulful Sisters. And then that shed, the Connecticut tent is behind it, unfortunately, but you can see the shed, that's the marshmallow vendor. Monette's came down, I was asking him and trying to prep them for the event, this is gonna be a big deal. They said, oh, we do this stuff all the time. They sold out a product 3 different times throughout the day.
Oh my God.
They were just slammed in the best way possible. They were running back to Burlington, making, making French fries in the middle of the night, coming back down the next day. So we were really excited about this. We're obviously going to plan to do this again and thinking about how we can maybe fit additional food truck vendors back there as well. That's great. And then the next slide, Linda. So we have data going back on sales and attendance to at least 2016. What you have graphed here, the blue line is the attendance. The orange is the sales. 2020 was the first time since World War II that the fair wasn't held, so that's the gap in that data set. 2021 was a lot of folks canceled last minute, had a lot of COVID concerns still, so that really hit our sales. But 22 and 23, I'm really excited about how we're coming back. And one of the things I'm really excited about is we've really started to move. Sales have tracked attendance very closely, as you can see in those earlier years. We had a record sales year in 2023. 2019 was the previous record year. There were 200,000 more people who visited the fair in 2019 than last year. So we broke the sales record with far fewer folks at the fairgrounds, which I think is a great thing. Had really tough weather this year. Vermont Day got rained out. So a lot of those big earning days came off the table for us, but we still, I think, did really well.
Oh, yeah.
Business as well. All right, and the next slide. Apologies, this is a little busy, it's very busy. The green arrows are meant to indicate the general traffic flow. And I just bring this up, to give you a sense of the layout. But also, I think if you can keep this in mind, as Jessica's talking about some of the challenges of the building, some of it is definitely traffic flow. Some of it we'll talk about, like our bathrooms are on the second floor, which is really difficult. We have one vendor, he's in his mid-80s. He's really struggling. We're having to find bathrooms around the fairgrounds, taking him on a golf cart to access those. So obviously not ADA compliant. But then there's just some traffic flow issues as well, pinch points, people are kind of getting squished in together. And we're not doing in certain areas the best we could with that traffic flow, really highlighting those businesses and giving customers a chance to stop and engage with them.
On that top flow, is that actually going out to the food truck area as well? And then they can come in on the lower flow level to back in that?
Exactly, yeah, Senator. So what used to happen is people would cut in front of that number 10 vendor inside and kind of do the horseshoe shape that way. Adding those food trucks just pulled everybody, and you could see that other one is a direct sight line down the alleyway. So people say, oh, there's something out here. The shed is kind of tucked away. People weren't seeing it. So now it's really changed that traffic pattern where people are doing that full loop coming outside and coming back through.
Yep.
All right, if you go to the next slide, Linda. And if you could skip this one, go to the next one real quick. So this is just kind of a summary of some of the programmatic challenges. One of our big ones is the electrical service. Overall, it's undersized. It's a 400 amp service. The study that was just completed recommends a 600 amp service. So we're greatly undersized there. And then the branching panels, a lot of those are overtaxed as well. There's safety concerns with that. We're constantly running and resetting breakers during the fair. Vendors are having to accommodate, our Skinny Pancake does their crepes. They have to turn their crepe heaters on one at a time, staggered every few minutes so that they can not overload the panel that they're on.
That is kind of romantic, but.
I mean, we're lucky in that we make it work and we get it done. So we've overcome, but it's certainly a challenge. The roof leaks and plumbing, obvious problems there, the leaking just exacerbating a lot of the damage. And then outdated plumbing limits some of the utilities available to our vendors and some of the modifications we might want to make. The ADA accessibility is a big concern for us. It's not an expectation that we have, nor do we want public bathrooms in the building. But there's a real liability concern with providing that for our vendors and making sure that they can access proper restroom facilities. There's the visible decline. I really, love our building and I'm really enamored with it. But as you walk around and look at stuff, you see rotting trim, you see masonry that's missing mortar, you see a lot of stuff that, again, if you think about that 101.5 million people that are coming through and having that experience and that exposure, we really want to make sure we're putting the best image out there that we can. And then the discordant aesthetics. The building has been modified by vendors over the years in ways that make sense, but have been somewhat ad hoc. And so there's kind of a lack of cohesiveness to that. Some vendors have, our sugar makers have this beautiful kind of faux sugar house. And then other vendors are in, totally different style type booths. So trying to bring somewhat of a cohesive aesthetic to the building, open that up, and improve some of those traffic flow issues as well. So that is all for me. I'm happy to take any questions that you have. I'll hand it off to Jessica whenever you're ready.
I think, Joe, are you going to go over some of the needs a little bit deeper, or are you just here for just because you look so?
I was just walking by, thought I'd stop in, I missed you guys, nothing. Jessica Time will be
Okay, so
stepping up for that.
So I guess we'll have some questions for that committee.
Yeah, do you have a vendor that's been with you like forever? Or is it intentional to kind of flip them over every now and then?
It really depends. We have a few that have been there a very long time. Our Ben & Jerry's vendor has been there, I think, 29 years.
Okay.
The cheese vendor, he took it over from his parents. His parents ran it for many, many years. So we have a mix. We brought back Champlain Apiaries this year. His grandfather used to have been in the building in the 70s, and now Curtis, his grandson, has come back. They did amazing. I think they've already applied to come back again this year. So it's a mix, and we're trying to balance multiple goals with it. Making sure that the building is servicing the needs and wants of the fairgoers. So we had a great company, Kiss Kombucha, who vended twice. And we worked with them a lot to try to, they did 1 year in the shed and then we brought them inside. And I think they just realized that the Biggie fairgoers probably don't want kombucha. Most people want fried dough and a 16-ounce beer and, some other like savory food. So it's being mindful of that while also spreading out those opportunities to lots of different businesses, large, small, and then thinking about like the kind of culture and heritage and values that we're trying to project too. So not having a maple vendor in the Vermont building would be an atrocity. So, when we're looking at those applications, we're also considering that makeup. So we've had maple vendors apply, and for us, it's a consideration. Do we want multiple people selling maple syrup when we can maybe use that spot for a different type of vendor? So lots of factors kind of go into that decision making. But, generally trying to balance all those goals. Are they going to be successful? Will it have a real market impact on their business? Could they leverage that in a real meaningful way? And does it reflect what the Vermont brand and the Vermont experience?
Thank you.
Senator Renner, you had a question?
Yes, please. So I went with someone who's not from Vermont, and so they were a little more critical than I probably would be about this as we went through all 6. of buildings from states. The comment I heard was that one of the buildings had a lot of natural light, it seemed to have sort of a raised open feel and lots more natural light was coming in. I don't know how we remedied that with just $1 million that we budgeted for that, but just to have more natural light coming in, maybe you have ideas, because I was one of your list.
Yeah, yeah, we've talked about that. So actually, if you've been down there and you're standing on the outside of the building, you'll see these big white rectangles, these boarded up. They're kind of on the second floor along there. Those actually used to be windows. So there's, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 of them along each side, along the sides of the building. So one of the things we've looked at is like, could you open those back up? Because that would give you a ton of light coming from the side. Again, those are existing openings in the building, wouldn't have to change the roof structure or anything. So that's a big part of the goal and something that we talked with the contractor and architect team about was, not just improving traffic flow and rethinking kind of booth layout, but that lighting piece and sight lines as well, right? So there's a real clear divide and there's a mezzanine wall halfway down. And it kind of creates this disruption in the flow of the building aesthetics. So I certainly agree with that.
And it might be follow on, there was also artwork on the outside of another state's building that just changed the feeling from, here's 6 brick buildings, they all look a little different, but this one building, I don't know which one it was, had beautiful artwork on the outside to sort of again, draw you in and give you a flavor of just what was inside and what their things were that made them distinct
Yeah,
out of all the other states. So again, if we do something to be less than just another brick building, even if we are the best building, because there's so many great Vermont artists.
right.
And so the sense we got walking through was not enough Vermont art. Not big enough, not bright enough, not in your face enough to really feel like you were in Vermont. Like, okay, you saw the Sugar Shack, but there's so much wonderful art. I don't know if that's, again, something you budget for or you can't afford this time and you're gonna go back for more money, but that's just something back since you guys gave me a free ticket, I went.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah,
So,
and that
our
offers,
list of ideas.
that offer stands this year as well. I would
Thank you.
love to have people come down. But it's a great point. It's great feedback. We've had conversations with the Vermont Arts Council. And I
Okay.
think we think about this building again as a platform to expose so many different people to the state. Inviting people like the Arts Council and other organizations, to kind of round that out, right? Vermont is more than food and ag and businesses. It's all of these things.
Or if you have murals inside, because I think there were some white walls and that was just again sort of.
Well, those
aesthetically
windows,
not-
yeah, we've talked
Right.
with them like, oh, could we probably like come and paint these if they're gonna stay boarded up, maybe they become murals, wouldn't that be a nice way?
Maybe they call it Vista Hills or something.
Yeah,
Anyway, and I had a question related to that. Sorry, I'm not from Vermont, so I still call it rest stop. The visitor center, but I will learn. The visitor center, is there a way to keep that open later, maybe check the state, on the days when you have the fair? Because if the fair's open till what, 10, 11 at night? But the rest area, visitor center's closing at 7 o'clock. Or at least that's what it's advertised as, maybe it does stay open later, but I mean, there should be, I would hope some sync, so that if you leave here at 10 or 11. And you're heading home, and you're like, oh, the visitor center, you can't do it because it's closed already.
yeah,
Just a thought.
that's a great thought. We worked with them a little bit on some other marketing projects, so I have some contacts there, but I didn't even realize that they were closed by the time we finished. So it's-
As far as the process of having vendors come in, so two-part question, I'll let kind of answer it. You must have to say to some people, well, you're really kind of not fitting our scheme of things, but on the other hand of it, can you think of a vendor that you maybe were a little suspect of whether it was gonna work and they just knocked it out of the park?
Yeah, I think I shared this story a little last year, but Bergamot and Moore, they're out of Williamstown. They do handmade leather bags. So not an obvious ag vendor. They've worked really hard to source their leather locally, but the pinch point in that supply chain is actually the tanneries. It's just not the tannery infrastructure in the state. So, but that being said, they make an amazing product. It's beautiful. They wanted to come down. They were still in the early stages of really getting their business off the ground. But this was during the kind of post-COVID shakeup where we lost a lot of vendors that year. Just, it was a big turnover year for us. So they came into the space that Vermont Flannel had been in forever. And Vermont Flannel had another location on the fairgrounds. So it ended up working out really well. We had no idea how they would do. They are one of our top, even in their first year, one of our top selling vendors.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up to that story is that they did so well with their revenue built during the fair, and I think something to be cognizant of is just the post-fair revenue as well. Now, this is the start of holiday shopping season, so talk to vendors and we hear a lot that like, I got my name out there, I collected email addresses, and now all my holiday orders are really spiking. But, you know, Bergamot came back and with some of the revenue that they did at the Biggie store, were able to start, purchase and open a brick and mortar store in downtown Williamstown. So, you know, bringing some real life and energy into that town. They're now hosting a cafe out of it. So it's, yeah, I think, you know, we have a pretty good handle. Every year we're getting better at really understanding that Biggie consumer. But they're selling $150, $200 handbags. That to us was like, I don't know. And then I think people just saw the quality of that and really got excited.
We have in Newport, we have Eat Nice, and I don't want to take away from what they've done as far as their marketing, and I don't want to make assumptions about, you know, what this fair has done for them financially, but I can say this, they use this event as a very strategic marketing part of them, and I know they really struggle just to bring enough product all the time. I mean, that's just when they think they bring enough, they don't bring enough. They're trying to get it down there, and it's been very, again, not to speak for all the hard work that they've done in other areas and venues, but I think that without a doubt, they could point to the Big E as being a huge part of the success.
Yeah, Eleanor and her team are fantastic. And really like just the, you know, what's exciting about them too is that they're doing the production themselves as well.
Right.
They're buying from other orchards in the state. So
Right.
it's really a full circle thing, making a great product. All those inputs are coming from Vermont, being grown here. And the sustainability aspect of what they're trying to do, bringing back kind of heritage varietals of apples and investing in that type of industry is pretty exciting.
Yes. Yes.
So the other committee I'm on is economic development and housing, and we're obviously working on getting more housing. So I expect you probably get people saying, oh, I want to move to Vermont, but I can't, or, you know, I'm not sure what people say, but do you have what you need to showcase the state as a place to relocate to?
Yeah, I would say, so the first, as you come in the front of the building, the first thing you encounter is the tourism booth.
Okay,
So tourism is there throughout the fair. They're great partners and have been for many years. They typically have two people behind this big long booth with a bunch of brochures from all different industries and businesses. So they're really our greeters. And they come in and, you know, people ask questions or share their stories. We've worked with the Department of Labor in the past couple of years. I think that's been really successful. They'll come down for the, Vermont Day is typically the busiest day of the fair. It's that second Saturday. But we remain really open and excited about any additional partnerships. I think, you know, again, tourism is kind of our front of house. And they're able to direct people and they have a lot of information about their programs, the relocation program. But we would be more than happy to work with any state partner that's, you know, sees that opportunity to talk to that many folks and, you know, encourage them to pursue whatever that specific goal is. Again, I see this as very much a platform for the whole state.
Right.
It's not specific just to ag, right? It's economic
That's great.
development, it's tourism, it's all those things.
right, and seeing people in person is just so much more valuable than online or print ads. It just works.
Yeah. I mean, I've stood behind tourism booth for hours and it's great. People say, oh, I'm thinking about a vacation, and you get to have a really meaningful conversation with someone and influence them with like, oh, I live in Orange County, Vermont. I've been pushing people to, like, I know Stowe and Manchester. I'm like, have you tried Topsom?
Yeah, that's great. And if you ever hear, or any of you ever hear things that we should know too, that would be helpful. You know, if there's trends that
Right.
people have, oh, I'm worried about healthcare, or I'm worried about this. I heard you don't have housing, just things like that, it would be helpful to know.
Yeah, last year, unfortunately, it was Pomfret closed the Sleepy Hollow Road.
Oh,
That happened right at the time of the
Okay.
fair, so people were coming in and saying, I heard Vermont's closed, they don't want
Right.
tourists.
exactly.
And we were able to say, no, that's not true at all.
And that was a problem.
But that was a PR issue, and at least with those folks that are coming in, it was an opportunity to kind of write the message on it.
Great, thanks.
As far as this site, were all these buildings built for this? Or was it a part of a different site before the fair started? Was this developed to be a fair, that all of what you have here?
Yeah, so the Vermont building was the third one built, I believe. It started as actually the National Dairy Expo. Joshua Brooks, who started the fair, bought the land in West Springfield, and he wanted to take the expo that was happening in Chicago and bring that to the East Coast and kind of like steal it away from the Midwest. It transitioned to being a more general ag fair, and then he went around, I believe it was him, went around and solicited and tried to encourage the different states to, come and represent. It's the only fair in the nation that they consider a multi-state fair for that reason. So as far as I know, really from inception, the idea was that each New England state would have a little spot on that fairground to promote themselves, and promote their businesses and their culture and heritage.
Very cool. Good. Committee, anything else on this section? Great,
Great.
thank you.
Thank
A lot of fun. Who wants to be next?
I'm happy to jump in.
Does the slide should go back up?
Yeah, if you can go back, actually, the slide that we skipped over is the beginning. I'm Jessica Time. I'm with Buildings and General Services. I'm the project manager and architect. It's been great working with the Agency of Agriculture. I've been working on this building with them for 5 years. A lot of hardworking building managers they have. And we've managed to pull in a team, a talented team, including architects, consultants, and some granted programs from USDA to look at this building and share with us what their recommendations are going forward. If you can go back one slide. I'm gonna jump into what this project is.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure which slide. maybe this is-
Number 6.
Number
It's the
6.
one with the color scheme.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This one. Oh, sorry.
Gotcha.
No, one further. It's got the picture of the building.
Right here, okay.
So there's our building. There's a lot of deferred maintenance. So much so that, we need to get to the floors, we need to get under cabinetry, we need to get into walls. And while we're doing that, we want to take care of the Agency of Agriculture's needs going into the future. As this fair is a great tradition, it's been around for 100 years, but it is transition as things go, and the building needs to continue to represent Vermont. So there's a list of our scope. We've broken this into phases, so I won't go into it now. But I do want to share what this building is. This is an older photo. And it is a monumental building, as are the rest of the Vermont state, of the state buildings on the Avenue of States. So it's very much a showpiece fair, and the other state buildings are impeccably maintained. And I think you'll see through our photos that the Vermont building is lagging in that respect. But to get to our basic need, we are funded for major maintenance currently and have been supported by you guys in getting maintenance money as well as money for renovation and modernization planning. So that's using FY 22 through 25 funds. And we are just completing that pre-design and planning effort. So we'd be happy to talk to you about that, which gets into phase 2 and 3 of this project. So if you can go skip ahead.
Yes, that's just, my name is Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
This reminds me, I think those are stained glass windows above the doors,
Yes.
and one can't see what beauty is there because they're not backlit. And I wondered if there's some way, probably really high tech and expensive, to backlit those, so as you're walking in, you see the beauty of those, because the flow probably will send you out a different way, so you'll never see. Because if you're coming from the outside, you see it lit naturally by,
Yeah.
hopefully the sun that's shining. But going in, you miss it, and I just think that that's unfortunate. So has somebody talked about or considered
No,
doing something
you're the
about that?
first.
'Cause that's, like, so. Such a missed opportunity.
We've talked about lighting, definitely the materials throughout, including those stained glass windows, are all very much representative of Vermont. It's Vermont materials. It's showcases us with a lot of pride. So if you can skip to 2 slides, not that one, this one, yes. So in the last year, and this is kind of a repeated theme, we have emergencies on this building because of the deferred maintenance. Last year, there was tremendous rainstorms and it involved a leak that affected one of the vendors. That was through the roof. The cupola was reportedly leaking a whole lot more than it has, and it's been leaking for like 8 years. So you see that yellow drape below is the bladder that would collect what's happening, falling from the sky into. It's not being stopped at the roof level. And this year, tragically, we were forced to make repairs ahead of the replacement at that level. So you see on one side the rotten trim, and the other side is where that trim is no longer. It's replaced by temporary materials. So we've completed planning and pre-design. We'll be reviewing that report soon. We will continue to have urgent repairs through this where we need to kind of be nimble about our phases. Phase 1 is exterior repairs and completely roof level water, and intended to arrest water damage and protect the building. Phase 2 and 3 get into the interior renovation and what we'd like to present to you as potential improvements as well to the site and on this side, and the exterior windows that you mentioned being boarded up. Okay, so continuing. At the bottom there, the fiscal year request for 2025 remains at $1,040,000. Our whole entire phase 1 for exterior repairs is slightly more than 3.24 million. And it will be using the remaining funds from FY22, FY23, and FY24 appropriations. So we're bundling it all together. We'll have staging that works on each of those pieces. We would much rather be approaching it in one go. And we are also, with that money, doing planning for phase 2 and 3. So, I think I'm ready to.
So as far as phase 1, it looks like you have the money that you need to complete phase 1. Am I looking at that right?
Yes, we'll have some pieces, like we definitely aren't getting to windows. You'll see my phasing next. There's a few pieces that will drag on to the future phases. But what we will want to do is get everything done that requires the scaffolding. And of course, when I mentioned the cupola having leaked, we didn't previously have that in our project as a major restoration item. We thought maybe some moderate repair from at height. Now that you've seen that the materials really aren't going to be replaced, we may be bringing that out. So that's a much bigger dollar item at this point. So phase 1, and this is what the fiscal year 25 funding is for, is the wood trim and siding. This is an excellent photo. It shows what is right front and center when you're entering that building. That's the pediment. The slate roof, which is leaked, and slates are falling. The cupola, obviously, I've touched on that a lot. The rear clear story windows are, and have been for a long time in a terrible condition. There is water getting in there. And the siding adjacent to it, the historic preservation has said these are gone. You can replace them as you wish, because there's nothing to salvage. And the brick and stone, which, we do have conditions. Some of these slides, I think you can see where water's getting in. Okay. I have 2 slides on the schedule. 2029 is the centennial, and we've based our schedule around that. And you can see that there is, we are straight up with a comfortable but difficult pace. Well, sorry, that's ironic. It's a tight pace, right, to get to that. And we're looking to contract this spring with A&E for design. And we would follow shortly with phase 2. And we would be constructing in summer of 2027. Because of the cupola work, we are looking to hire a construction manager. So that will be important, engaging with the unique needs at the cupola level.
So Jessica, I'm curious, what are the busiest months for construction here, or whatever we're gonna call it, renovation?
Let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
I actually feel like it lays it out much clearer. So the blue line's design.
Yeah.
The green line is construction, and as I mentioned, we are looking to bring a contractor in for design assistance during that phase, so they can provide the information about what's rotting up there, which it's very hard for a designer to get up there
Sure.
to fund that.
And does BGS do all the work themselves, or do we contract out, or?
This is all contracted at this scale. This building has received a lot of BGS work because it has only been maintenance for many years. It's not seen a lot of dollars directed this way. So that's why we call this deferred maintenance. It really just, the roof has not been done.
So we're looking at, in 24 and 25, and not trying to rush you through the schedule at all, just to
Yeah.
look for some historical context.
Yeah.
We're looking at $1.1 million per each year, basically, if you average out the numbers. Had we not been spending that type of money, before 2022 or 21 or 20 or 18, 19?
That started, I wanna say, in 2021. I got it. That kind of spending, and prior to that, we were seeing, 2023 was our 1.4 million. 2024, 1.2 million, so this was we started at the roof. We understood that we needed to better understand the building, and we got support for the planning, which has been this past year. We also have completed hot water distribution improvements and have been in small ways taking care of electrical problems. Through doing that, we realized the depth of our electrical problems.
I'm just trying to get a context, yes, Joe.
Previously 200,000.
For the record, Joe Aja, Director for Design and Construction and Building and General Services. Historically, when I first started back here in the 80s, there would be a group of maintenance personnel, BGS maintenance, that would go down and sort of do touch-up stuff. It was a while ago. We really haven't put much money into it. We have patched the roof over time. Few things here and there, trying to keep things going through the use of our operations and maintenance staff. But this really, a few years ago, I'll give the exact time frame. Project manager Brittany Karish went down there and redid pathway on one side of the building, a little bit more work out back on the deck and porch area. But this is the first time that we're really asking for money to do not really a major overhaul, but really a big overhaul of the deferred maintenance that's down there. it is in not only deplorable condition, but it could be there in a few years without spending this type of money on it. It's-
Yeah, and I guess what my point was, and thank you, that's very helpful, 'cause my point is, if we've been spending $1 million a year on this building for so many years, then. You know, somewhere along the way, we're missing something, and, you got a building that doesn't have any type of air conditioning or any type of heating, and, you know, all the big HVAC systems and all of that, you know, you got just a basic shell of the building with electricity and some water. You know, to be spending, you know, as beautiful as the building is, if we're spending $1 million a year on it, I understand, and not at all, bothered by the numbers that we're seeing right now, but also glad to hear that we haven't been spending this type of money, for 10 years, and then we're still at this point.
And I think what it was is people looked at it as, you know, it was only used more than half out of the year. Every year, 34 years ago, it was still in better condition, and now it's just, everything's coming together.
Right.
The real push really is to bring it up, make it look good for the 100-year anniversary, plus maintain it. I mean, it's going hand in hand.
Right. Thank you.
This shows the gray lines are the event.
Sorry.
That punctuates right through our construction season, as does winter, which is gonna be important when we're doing repairs on the exterior as well as the interior because it's not heated. So in order to get to where we wanna be in 2029, it really is a 4-year construction push.
Sure.
So if we're interrupted, deterioration continues and we're not there by 2020.
If we were unfortunate enough to have gone through another summer like last year, can you pivot quickly enough to work inside the building when it's not going too well outside, or are you pretty well?
No, we will have contracted the work specific
So
to
it's up
what
to
the
them.
work is. In the next bid period, we will be contracting exterior work. We will have a few extra things included in that bid as alternatives that we can strip out, but that's our flexibility level, which is no.
We gotta get the design done before we get the construction done, so it's still the design outside then inside. Year 2.5, 3 could have that ability. Hopefully the outside's done by then.
I should have known, you already thought about that.
And then are you gonna try to find a contractor down there?
We would not try to do that, but that is what we're seeing as the most likely.
And there's a lot more down there.
There's a lot of competition down there too,
Yeah.
so we get.
Yeah.
It's been hard to pull Vermonters into the building. They will do it as a favor, but it's not helping them one bit. And they have, and it's been great to have those partnerships.
Do you need any kind of okay to have vendors outside of the state?
It is a licensing issue.
Okay,
You got
but
a
you-
license in Massachusetts.
We need to do anything.
No.
for-
And
I think
you know,
it's
the people
worthy.
in the southern areas or some of the larger contractors that are up here do have those licensed employees that can go down there, so. But again, it's, you know, you're not spending $1 million, you know, now. Typically, we're not spending millions on the building to attract that, you know, higher, larger contractor to go down there. We're gonna be doing smaller little projects that we have been doing. This one, maybe somebody will step up. When I mentioned Sabrina Karish did some work down there a number of years ago, Engleworth Construction did do that work. You know, and they're out of Colchester, so.
Is it a sovereign building, so that when we go down there, we don't have to follow the rules of
It used to be, however, we tried that at one point in time with the zoning regulation and the fire marshal. And the fire marshal said, that's all well and good, you can be your sovereign nation of Vermont, however, your fire department has to respond. So keep one up us.
Yeah.
But for years prior to that, that's how it had been looked at. Massachusetts and I think by county has looked at it a bit differently lately, through zoning and their fire marshal's office.
Yeah.
So that's some of the repair work on the interior as well, because they don't agree with the work that we've done. That's
Oh,
We have now moved this building officially to Massachusetts.
Okay.
It's confusing to everyone involved.
Well, it's probably appropriate.
Because there are some different codes, plumbing codes are different in Massachusetts for certain things that Vermont allows that Massachusetts does not.
If you see anything that we might wanna allow, let us know. Sometimes there's good ideas in other places.
But
Thank you. I was curious how you're gonna add that bathroom. Will it be on floor one or will you have an elevator? As if you could find an elevator anywhere right now to install, to the second floor.
We are still looking at that. We have kind of both options on the table when we present. We hope to have both options on the table for you. We look forward to when there is interest about our continued request, to presenting what that planning phase was. But, it is possible, and one of the great findings of the planning, that we can manage the ADA issues without an elevator.
Because it's not public.
It's by bringing those uses down to the first floor, as you mentioned.
Yes, without losing vendor space.
what is forgive me, I wasn't paying attention, I thought what's on the second floor?
We have our kind of state building manager room.
Okay.
On one end of, it's a narrow kind of second floor on the front building. So there's on the one side, there's our office building, at the top of the stairs there's a small bathroom. There's a hallway, and there's another small bathroom, another set of stairs, and then there's what is currently kind of a break room kitchen that vendors and building staff use. Generally underutilized, some vendors use it quite a bit, but it's more or less, for us to have our office to hold meetings. And then for vendors to just get out of the chaos. So we have some tables and a pretty well good kitchen if people want to cook their own food or make a cup of tea or something.
The current restrooms are also up 2 steps, so just an elevator doesn't do it. We have to go more, right?
Or
What else?
It's good for you, learning a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not done.
Dude,
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I thought we were switching players.
Okay, so we are, so looking at phase 2, I wanna point out in the pictures that the flooring is gone, like, I think it was 2 years ago that we started to clean it. Everybody was like, the cleaner didn't do a good job, the cleaner didn't do a good job, and we kept going back. The floor is finally, failed. There's also many of the booths have paint because the flooring was done with all these booths in place, so every year when they move cabinetry, the floor is not under it, it's a fair that needs flexibility. That's one of the needs of bringing in different vendors occasionally. So the floors, the ADA restrooms, we've already kind of covered these items. These are all maintenance needs, the base NEP level need, plumbing, which has code issues, electrical, which we haven't said enough about, but I think I will leave that. One side of the building, all the panels are completely at capacity, so if you are asked, can you accommodate this? It's a matter of unplugging that, right? There's no wiggle room. And that's been wonderful because some of the vendors on that side of the building have remained. And perhaps that's the only option.
Yeah, but now we're at a point where they're having to submit every appliance that they are gonna use, and we're vetting that at the start of the fair to make sure what's the amperage on the appliance, this panel. So even small things, someone wanted to bring an extra microwave to temper their chocolate, that was a big discussion because just a microwave may push you over the edge.
Yes. So O&M and agriculture have been wrangling with this problem. We also have monitoring now where we can say there's a problem with the building, right? We know more, you know, what's happening, and usually that's when one of the panels trips on the inside. And some of the systems that we're introducing now, the modern systems, and batteries for emergency backup lighting require heat. So we are at the stage where it would be prudent to add heat into like a closet and put those items in the closet. So that's demonstrating the need. I think the next one, while it says phase 3 are really the items that we want to couple with those improvements as we're going forward. Working with the architect, we're looking at opening the hall from front to back. I think all 3 of these pictures show this mid wall. And as well as a mezzanine that upon studying, we've found, well, you can see it's never been finished. It has a major visual impact.
Is that the second floor? Right,
There is
the
no
stairs?
second floor. This is
Okay.
a very small footprint, but it has a major visual footprint. So they've used it for very lightweight storage, but they cannot go beyond that. It's not even rated for 50 pounds per square foot load rating, which is standard office space.
Joe,
Just a second.
Yeah.
Lynn, if you go back one slide. If you look, the second floor
Okay.
is right up here.
okay, right.
So here's your stairs,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that's the 2 areas that
Thank
they were
you.
talking about.
Thank you,
It's all-
Joe.
You know, it's relatively narrow up there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because it would seem like it was just a ton of wasted space, have it otherwise, but that makes very good sense.
Right.
And so, Linda, back to the next slide that you were at, the stairways that go up, does that go to the cupola?
No, that goes to the flat roof. So
Okay.
those unfinished stairs, you can see them when you're a visitor, you know. So we're looking at ways to open this building up a little bit, those 2 elements, as well as providing more booths, a very positive finding of our planning study, and finding a real home with adequate facilities for Anchor Vermont food vendors. As well as improvements to the lighting. The lighting is within 15 years, was installed within 15 years from now, but it was done as strategically just an energy improvement. And you can see that the fixtures at this point in time are part of that interior mismatch. Is what I would say. When they were installed, we had black ceilings in the space. So they're remnant, and they also are starting to. We had to do repairs to them, so it's 15 years on new. At that time, that was LEDs were fairly new and maybe not performing to the
So you have the
fashion
capital,
they do now.
I apologize. You have the capital bill, you have your own, income derived from taking your 12% from your sales. Do you have any other funding that comes to you, from the state or anything else?
This particular year, we were awarded, after I presented that we would not have enough money to get to the windows, we were awarded major maintenance funds. So that not being up on scaffold will contribute to that exterior repair.
Go ahead, Joe.
And
But some of the major maintenance funds also is a few years ago now, 3, 4, we did a memo of understanding with the agency, in that we believe that we haven't, BGS has not been doing much maintenance down there other than a little bit here and there. And it is now eligible for out of our major maintenance fund. So
Yeah.
sort of like our other buildings, these are gonna be the bigger dollars to get us back up to new and operable, and then after that, we'll be able to kick in some additional major maintenance items as we go along over time. So, you know, like, once the fire alarm panel becomes outdated, that will be eligible for major maintenance. So we're looking at it completely different now than we were 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, to be fair, looking at this building compared to a lot of what we're looking at around the state. I mean, we've got the Bennington Monument where we got estimates between $50 and $60 million. We have the Coolidge sites. We have on and on we go, as we haven't gone through this year, so my memory lags a little bit to where we were on some of our historic sites. But I know we have need for this building, but to me, it seems manageable. And you know, and to some it might not, because this is the building that you have. This is the building that we gotta live with. This is what we have to work with. I'm encouraged to see the progress of where we're at with it, because we're seeing other places where we just say, there ain't no way. And here we can see, I feel, a path to glory, a path to say, hey, you know what? We finally got the building to where we want it to get to. And it's within a budget that I think that the state can afford, because there's other ones we're scratching our head saying, man, we're in trouble. And I'm encouraged to see where it's at. I'm encouraged to see what you guys are doing with the building already, you know, where you're at. And yeah, there's some difficulties. You're flipping breakers, you're counting up amperage to see where you're at. Are you gonna build a clock, you know, but gotta lead. We get that, but at the end of the day, you're representing Vermont in a building that everybody continually used to say, yeah, boy, that building looks like Vermont. That's really, really cool. So I commend you with that, and I'm encouraged with what I see. We can hear.
Yeah, thank you.
So. Committee, anything else?
Great, so first 2 weeks of September?
Yeah, I can follow up. I think last year I came in with some fake tickets to Hotel Eastern States, so I figured out. We'll admit one. I didn't have time to do that. But it is the same.
No, and I just wanted, and then when it is, so I can plan, but it's the first couple weeks of September.
Yeah, I wanna say it's the 17th it starts, it goes through like the 1st of October.
Oh, okay, so the last half of September.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
but I'm so pleased that Senator Renner came down. I
Yeah,
think
me too.
to go and experience it really does just, it gives you a sense of what's going on and why it's so important and just such a cool thing. So,
Yeah.
if there's any ever interest, we can provide tickets and parking facilities and.
And offer tours, like it's really nice to be able to walk around to the Vermont building and then through the whole Avenue of the States and sort of compare Vermont and other.
No, that'd be
states
fun.
lots.
Yeah. Advocate for Vermont.
That's right.
It's always fun.
Yeah, the governor has come down, he didn't make it last year, but he typically comes down for Vermont Day. Secretary Clouser came down, so, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else you guys want to tell us today?
No, appreciate your time.
We appreciate all your time and the presentation. Thank you. You guys all have a good weekend.
You too.